Okay, we're going on to lesson 6 here in chapter 8. So the percent is, now this is, I mentioned this in the last lesson, but I'm going to mention it again. A percent is a special type of ratio, okay, that compares a number to 100. Percent literally means out of or of 100, right? That's what it means, out of 100. Even though you're not, per se taking a quiz, let's say your quiz is 16 questions, you might still get a percent back. What that means is, like, if you got an 86%, that just means, like, if the quiz was 86 questions, you would have, or not 86. If it was 100 questions, that means you would have gotten 86 out of 100 correct. Or if it was 100 points, you would have gotten 86 out of 100 points, even though it's only 16 questions or 16 points. You're comparing it to 100. Kind of depends on what you're looking at there. To write out a percent, these are literally percents right here. So 68 out of 100, that would be just 68%. Right here, 2 out of 100, that is 2%. All right, 0.9 out of 100, that's going to be 9/10 of 1%. So that's less than 1%. Right here, this is written as a fraction, so that's 32%. 32 out of 100. Okay. Moving on to the next part here, converting a percent into a decimal. Now, to do this, this is actually a pretty easy thing to do. There's a couple different methods. One method is to convert by dividing the percent by 100, okay? Or, this is kind of a result of dividing by 100, but convert by moving the decimal place, the decimal point, 2 digits, 2 places, right, to the left. All right, both of those things, dividing by 100 or moving the decimal place 2 places to the left, do the same thing. All right, so you probably find the second thing easier. But like on example A, just move it over 2 places. So that is going to be 0.3. Now, if you want to put a 0 there, you can, but you don't really need it anymore. Right? This now for B, that is 0.22%. There's a decimal there, so I'm going to still move it over 2 places. So it's going to be 0.0022. So it's 22 10,000ths. When I change it to a decimal. All right, when we do this one right here, we're going to do that as 0.095. So it was there, right? It was there and it moved over 2. Moved over 2 places. That's how it works. All right, this is going to be 6.23. That's what that's going to be right here. We're going to move it over 2 places, 0.004. Right here, this is going to be 0.9761. And this one's going to be 0.00022. And then 100% is just 1, right? Just 1. The decimal moves over 2 places. All right, next page here. Next page, converting a decimal into a percent. This is the opposite of what we just did. Convert by multiplying the percent. By 100, or by moving the decimal point. Move it over 2 digits to the right. So you're multiplying by 100, which in turn makes the decimal move 2 places to the right. So right here on example A, you're moving it over 2 places, so it becomes 25%. On this one, move it over 2 places, so put a 0 there, it becomes 80%. Not 8%, but 80%. Right here, you're moving it over 2 places, so it's between the 1 and the 6. So 61.6%. Right here, it moves over 2 places, 3.1%. Right here, this is 100%. This is going to be 333%. 189%. And right here, this one's just moving over 2 places, so it's still pretty small percent, but it's a little different than what it was before. So 37 thousandths of a percent, of 1%. Converting percents as a fraction. Now, the first thing you want to do is convert the percent into decimal form. I think that's going to be the easiest avenue you want to take. Convert it to a decimal, and then use that form to make a what? To make a fraction. All right, and then convert the fraction into a mixed number or decimal. I'm not sure what I wanted to write on here. If the percent is a fraction, if the percent is in fraction form, express as a complex fraction. This is not working. I have to pause the video because my pen is not working. Okay, so for the first one here, what you could do is we could just, because we're just writing each percent as a fraction, so we can just write 8 over 100 and then simplify it. So we can divide by 4. And so dividing by 4 gives us 2 over 25, 2 25ths. All right. So right here, now if it's a decimal, what I would suggest doing is I would convert it into, well, it's a percent right now, but I would convert it into a pure decimal, which is 0.155, which is 155 out of 1,000. All right, and then let's divide that by 5. Divide that by 5, and then when we do that, we get 31 over 200. And right here, we can just write this as 320 over 100. Now that's an improper fraction. We can simplify that by making that 32 over 10. And then we can divide by 2. Divide by 2, and we get 16 fifths. And then 1/2. Now 1/2%. Now 1/2%, that just means 0.05%. And then if we convert that into a decimal, that's going to be 0.0005, which is 5 10,000ths. That's what that is. And then that's going to be 1 over, because we can divide by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then 10 divided by, that's going to be 1 over 2,000. And then 3/8 is, I'll save you some time here, is 0.375 as a decimal. So 0.375%. And then to change that to decimal form, pure decimal form, I'm still divided by 100. So you get 375 over 100,000, right? And then we can divide that. Seems like we can divide by 25 at least. So I got 15 over over 4,000. And then we can divide that by 5. And so then we get 3 over 800. All right, next part here, converting a fraction into a percent. There's a few different strategies you can use to convert fractions into percent. One method is to set up equivalent fractions. With the other fraction with a denominator, of 100. So that's one way you can do it, where you can just, because percent means it's out of 100, right? So we can just, and that works well with these examples that I have here on this page, because all these denominators all go perfectly into 100, right? So we can get away with that. So we can multiply by 25 here. So we can do 3 times 25, which is 75. So this is 75%. You probably already knew that, but I'm just kind of showing you this. All right, right here, we can just do the same thing. Compare 9/20ths to something out of 100. So I know 20 times 5 is 100. So we're going to do 90 times, or not 90 times 5, but 9 times 5, which is 45. So that's 45%. And then the third example here, we can just make this out of 100. So you're multiplying 25 times 4. So 18 times 4. 18 times 4 is 72. So that's 72%. Like I said, those are nice ways to do it. if the denominator is like one of those compatible numbers that goes into 100 nicely. Another method is to basically set up a division problem. Divide the top by the bottom. Or in other words, the numerator divided by the denominator. So that's what we can do. So we can just set it up as a division problem. We can just do 7 divided by 12. All right. And when you do 7 divided by 12, I got 0.5833, going on forever. All right, which is going to be 58 and 1/3%. Right there. Now 3/5, 3/5 is 0.6, right? That's what that is. So that is going to be 2.6, which is 260%. And then you can try these on your own. Wants us to do all three. 6 out of 100, which is 3 out of 50. So there's a fraction, there's a percent, and it was already started out as a decimal. So this one as a decimal As a decimal, it's going to be 0.0575. All right. And then as a fraction, I'm going to start out with that. 575 over 10,000, because that's 10,000's place right there. And then if we can reduce it by dividing it by 25. So we're going to get 23 over 400. There it is.